Hi there, I'm Laura, and if you'd like to win more ribbons at your next horse show, become a better rider, or generally like other horsey related stuff, then watch this video where I'm going to share with you some excellent tips on position review and some exercises you can use in your next riding session to improve your position. So let's get started. So I have this picture here, and it is a picture of somebody going over a fence, over a jump, and we have some position corrections that we'd like to do. Just wanted to go over a few things about the horse, a few things about the rider, a position, and then make some comments on the horse as well. These are meant to be really positive comments, and remember, this is a snapshot over one fence, and this is something that somebody would like to have help with their horse. And so if you would like to have your own, then you can send your own in as well. But we all need to improve. We all like to have some help. And these are for people who may not have their own coach at home but need some help with their position. So if you have pictures, send them in. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to see your position and what you're doing with your horse. So here is the one thing that I really liked was that he's got proper footwear on, and you can see this, that the rider has a good heel on there, there's good boots, good protection, and also the rider has proper riding chaps on, and I really like that as well. So the rider's turned out nicely. He's got some decent riding pants as well. I'd like to see the rider have some gloves on. That would be even excellent, and I don't know what they're wearing for a shirt. I'm assuming they're wearing a shirt, right? But as far as the footwear and boot wear goes, those are really good things. The other thing I really like about this picture is that you can see the keepers are put in and the runners are kept in so that there's no flapping straps. I think it might be quite annoying for the horse to have that straps flapping right near their eyes. So I like that they have the extra pieces put into the runners and the keepers so there's no flapping. The other thing is by the noseband here, that oftentimes there's an extra piece of leather down from the bottom of the horse's jaw, which really detracts from the whole demeanor of the picture when you see the straps that are hanging down off the horse's mouth. And also the other thing is, you see here on the reins, and I'm just going to make that picture a little bit bigger. You can see the rein stops on the rein, and that's for a running martingale. If you're going to be showing in the hunters, then take those off. Or if you're even showing in dressage, take those off. I find them a distraction when I'm judging, and I really think, jeepers, are they riding that horse on a running martingale before they come in here? But they're difficult to take off, and they're sewn right on there, so you're going to have to take a knife and cut them off, particularly if you don't need them, if you never use them, if you don't use a running martingale, then for sure take them off. The other comment I'd like to make about this rider, the rider has towels. Oh, you can't see it at the back here, but there's a towel in behind here. There, you can see that there are towels underneath the saddle pad and underneath at the back and underneath at the front, which really tells me that this saddle doesn't fit this horse. So what does that mean? You've got a saddle that doesn't fit your horse and you're putting it on your horse, so you try to make it fit better with towels or padding of some sort. This is not a good way to get your saddle to fit. Have your saddle fit properly, and if it doesn't fit, find a saddle that does fit properly so that your horse will be comfortable. And it's really important. Well, you won't be able to go to a horse show like this, but make sure that you have a saddle that fits comfortably for your horse. Maybe this horse has high withers or something going on with its back. It needs to have extra padding there, but this is not an acceptable thing for me anyway. It just tells me that the saddle's not fitting, and you understand the saddle's not fitting because you put towels there. So make sure that you use a correctly fitted saddle, and if you don't know how to fit a saddle, call somebody who does know how to fit a saddle, or look up online how to fit a saddle. Get your saddle fitter in there. Somebody who sells saddle will probably come out to your stable to help you fit a saddle, particularly if you're going to buy a new saddle. So don't be afraid to ask questions of people. It's only going to make your horse comfortable. So make sure your horse is comfortable by getting a saddle fit correctly. So we've seen a few things here in this picture. We've seen that the rider's got decent boots on. They've got some half chaps on, so he or she's protected nicely. Got some good riding pants on, and we'd like to see that they wear gloves. And the saddle is probably not fitting this horse properly because we see towels coming out of the front, the pommel of the saddle area, and in behind the saddle. So we want to make sure that the saddle is fitting properly. First thing that shouts out at me about this position for position review, you can see from this picture that the rider's foot is what we call home in the stirrup, and that means that the stirrup is jammed right up against the heel of the boot. This is not a safe position to be in. Correct place for your stirrup to be is on the ball of the foot. So we like to put it more forward, right near the ball of the foot. You can see here the ball of the foot is the widest part of the foot. So if something happens and you need to get your foot out of the stirrup, it's easier to get your foot out of the stirrup than when it's home in the stirrup. So just take a closer look at this. This is at home in the stirrup, where the stirrup is way back, right jammed up against the rider's heel. And this is the position where the stirrup is on the ball of the foot, where it should be. You see the red line there? That's where the stirrup should be. And if you put your stirrup on the ball of the foot, your foot will be in a better position to be in a better position. So that's the first thing that screams out at me. The rider's foot is in the stirrup incorrectly, and this is wrong. And then once the rider gets the stirrup in the correct position, then the rider's heel can come down a little bit better. The rider's stirrup is in the wrong place. We'd like to see the stirrup on the ball of the foot, but also partially this way because the rider is pinching and pivoting on her knee. So when you pivot on your knee, the leg swings back and the weight comes off your heel, and the rider's seat moves forward. So when the rider pivots onto their knee, their upper body goes forward, and then their seat comes out of the saddle. And we'd like to have this rider's seat closer to the saddle, more over the middle part of the saddle rather than higher above the saddle and over top of the pommel. Being over top of the pommel is not correct. You need to have it over the center of the saddle and closer to the saddle to keep your position. So if we'd like to improve this rider's angles, these are the angles that we'd like to see. You see the weight down in the heel starting near the stirrup. The heel should be down, toes should be up. Shorten this rider's stirrup a hole or two so that the weight can come down in your heels, and then have a sharper angle between the lower leg and the thigh so that it makes a sharper angle, almost 90-degree angles. And you can see this here, right here. This is almost a 90-degree angle, and would be very nice 90-degree angle. The angle that she has is quite open, and that's wrong. We want a closed angle here, and again a more closed angle from the hip up to the rider's upper body as well. So all those things that we talked about, the stirrup being on the correct part of the foot, pushing your weight down into your heels, not pinching with your knee, having your seat closer to the saddle. These are all easy corrections that you could do with your own riding to help improve your own riding. How are you going to do that? Well, let's talk about that for a minute. To get the weight down in your heels, some of the simplest exercises you can do are standing up in your stirrups in your 2-point position. And also, actually, you can go up to... So look right here at this video right here. There's some exercises that you can do to help with getting your heels down. So putting your heels down, I've got some really good exercises right here that you can use right away in your next ride that you can do to help get your heels down. Some exercises you can do, I'll just go over a few of them right now. Go trotting in your 2-point, trotting in your 2-point over poles, trotting in your 2-point, and put one hand on your back to help release the tension in your back, and walk and trot over a small cross rail. All those things will help accentuate where your heels need to be and keep the weight down in your heels. This rider here, as you can see, you can see the heels are up. Now if they put the stirrup on the ball of the foot, that would help immensely, and concentrate on keeping the weight down in your heels in a rising trot, in a 2-point position trot, and also doing this exercise 2-point position over trot rails to help get the weight down into your heels. Keeping the weight down into your heels as you're going in 2-point and 2-point over trot rails is one of the best exercises you can do. It really helps to accentuate what is happening with your leg and let your leg relax and come down so that it can absorb the shock of the trot. Really important. And once you get that one mastered, then go over small jumps when your 2-point position so you can even further develop the weight down in your heel. The big thing is to know that your heels should be down, keeping the stirrup on the ball of your foot and the weight coming down past your knees into the ankles so that you can be secure on top of your horse. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about the horse itself. Generally speaking, this horse has a decent arc over top of his fences. He's reaching down and forward with his head and neck, and that's really nice to see. We didn't comment on the rider's position, hand position, because she has a lovely straight line elbow hand horse's mouth, which is nice, but we like to have her hands, her upper body looks like it's quite well I'm assuming it's a woman. The rider's hands should be down a little bit more and exactly where they are, but down closer to the horse's mane, so not so much a floating release, but pushed down a little bit more in the mane, with the rider's seat back down in the saddle and her shoulders over top of her hips a bit more, not so far out in front. I'm just guessing that she's leaning quite forward only because of the position of her leg. It's not clear with this picture where her actual upper body is. But a nice straight line, doesn't look like she's interfering with the horse at all, but she's not allowing him to stretch down even more. So keeping that in mind when you're doing your jumping position with a bit of a release to allow the horse to stretch down. We can see from this picture, I just drew a red line, that the horse is kind of arcing his body over top of the jump in a nice bascule and using himself decently over top of his back. Now, the one thing that we do notice, so the arc of the horse is quite nice, but the other thing of this particular horse, and remember this is just a snapshot as the horse is going over top of the jump, is that one of his legs is up and the other one is down. So this would be marked down quite severely in a hunter class, and you can see that the leg that's up, we'd like to see the horse's leg up even more. This is kind of still pointing down to the ground. We'd like to see the horse's forearm level parallel with the ground, and you can see the other leg that's in the shadow there is pointing down to the ground, and I would call this a hanging legged horse. He doesn't jump very nicely with his legs. His back looks nice and arched, but his legs need to come up a little bit more, and we can talk about some exercises that you can do to help improve your horse's form over fences. Those would be gymnastic jumping exercises. So here's this horse again, is turned out properly for a nice schooling round. I'm a bit concerned over the saddle, that it doesn't fit this horse. We can work with this rider, working on her 2-point position to help get her heels down by you doing some correct exercises over trot rails, getting her foot correctly in the stirrup so to help keep the weight down in her stirrup, and bringing her seat over top of the saddle more so that she can stay in balance with her horse a little bit better. If she were sitting over top of her horse a little bit better, he may be able to use his legs a little bit nicer and bring them up and snap them up a little bit more because she is not loading them with her upper body. So keeping all those things in mind, this is a great picture, and thank you so much for that. So there you have it, little position review of this rider's position as she's going over her fences. If you'd like to win more ribbons at your next horse show, improve your riding, or generally like other horsey related stuff like I do, then subscribe to this channel. My name is Laura, and that's our position review for today. If you'd like to have your own position review, send me a couple photos. I'd be happy to do one for you and develop a program for you so that you can become a better rider. Thanks now.